Good afternoon, class. My name is Tony Hemphill, and today I'll be giving you a short synopsis of chapters 4, 5, and 6. Chapter 4 basically talked about our language and its important usage. Language, as we know it, is used in everyday life. Language, we know, is a powerful tool and allows us to make connections between our family and friends. It also gives us the perception of how we view and see people. Um, Language also affects our emotion. Um, Language we use on an everyday basis can be received as positive and or negative. Language also shapes our attitudes of others. We use uh, language through various social media sites, and it plays a tremendous impact on how we communicate with people. Um, Overall, we know that language can be used in different situations and should be used appropriately, of course, when it's being used every day. Uh, Language is intended for the listener. It should be used also in the right context to avoid misinterpretation of how we use language in our words. That was pretty much a general use of what chapter 4 was about, our language and how it comes across. Chapter 5 talked about making connections through nonverbal and to differentiate between nonverbal and verbal communication. We know nonverbal communication is can be used through all behaviors. We all know the saying, it's not what you say, but it's how you say it. It's our tone of voice, our body language, and our appearance that says a lot about nonverbal communication. I learned through the chapter that nonverbal communication has six components, but our primary use of it is our persuasive because it affects how we verbally talk to people. The chapter talked a lot about nonverbal communication and how it's more believable than verbal communication. We use nonverbal communication through primary means of expression because it's ambiguous and it relates to our culture. Especially depends on how and which context we use nonverbal. But we all use nonverbal communication pretty much in the everyday of our lives. We use it through our facial expressions, our body language, our eye rolling, etc. That pretty much was what chapter 5 was about, just making connections between nonverbal and verbal communication. Chapter 6 was really interesting. It talked about connecting, listening, and thinking in our communication process. It talked basically about how we connect with people in our lives and how we use listening in a rational sense and the importance between the sender and the receiver with listening. Um, in this chapter, I learned that we all can be better listeners and how we recognize the importance of listening effectively and be willing to work on building our communication through listening skills. Chapter 4, 5, and 6 kind of correlated with one another. Basically, again, talked about listening, how we use our language, how we think about our communication and stuff like that on everyday usage with the people that we communicate with. So we all want to be better listeners, of course, better communicators, and use our language all appropriately, which basically spoke about each chapter. Pretty much a short synopsis of what these chapters are about. Hope you enjoy listening. Have a good afternoon.